Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. You're not stuck because you're unlucky. You're not behind because you missed some big opportunity. You're exactly where your habits have placed you. And I know that might hit a little different because we like to think our future is built on big moments, big decisions, big moves, big breaks. But the truth is, your future isn't built by what you do once in a while. It's built by what you repeat every single day. And if you're honest with yourself, your daily habits might be quietly working against the life you say you want. So today, we're going to talk about it, not from theory, but from real life.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.
Welcome to the Mindset Manual, the place where we talk about the hard truths most people avoid, but the truths that can actually change your life. I'm Myron, entrepreneur, father, and student of life. And today we're talking about one of the harsh truths about success. This is episode 6 of my 8-part series on the harsh truths about success. And I want you to follow me on this journey, not from a place of perfection, but from my real life experiences, because I've lived this one more than once. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button for me and leave an honest comment after you finish watching this episode. I'd love to hear what you have to think. The lie we tell ourselves. Let me be real with you. Most people think success is about intensity, grinding hard, pushing harder, having those moments where you lock in. But that's not what changes your life. It's consistency. Consistency isn't exciting. It's not motivational. It doesn't look good on social media, and it doesn't feel powerful in the moment. It feels small. It feels repetitive. It feels easy to ignore. And that's why most people lose, because they underestimate the power of small actions. See, we celebrate the one day we woke up early, but ignore the 5 days we didn't. We'll hype ourselves up for starting something, but be quiet when we don't finish it. We focus on moments, but life responds to patterns. And your patterns, they're telling the truth about your future. Habits are like votes. Every habit you repeat is a vote, not for who you want to be, but for who you are becoming. Every time you hit the snooze button, that's a vote. Every time you procrastinate, that's a vote. Every time you avoid what matters, that's a vote. But it works the other way too. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, that's a vote. Every time you stay disciplined, that's a vote. Every time you keep your word to yourself, that's a vote. And over time, those votes, they stack up. And they create your identity. That's why some people look naturally disciplined. It's not natural, it's practice. They've cast more votes in that direction. And I had to learn this the hard way, because there was a time in my life where I said I wanted more, but my habits said something completely different. And your habits will always expose what you're really committed to. Let me tell you a little bit about myself and some of the things that I've done in my life to become the person I am today. My friends will always say to me, man, you seem like you have it all together. You have all these different businesses. We know you always doing this and that, and you have these businesses that are successful on so many different levels. How do you do all these things and still have time to hang out with us and go out with us and go to the basketball games and kick it with your kids? And you never seem stressed and you never complain. I never hear you talk about, oh, I had a bad day or this and that about work or nothing. You always just very balanced. How do you do it? You must have a secret twin or twin brother that we haven't met or something like that, man. How are you able to do all these different things, man, and still live your life and be comfortable? And I tell them, just like I tell you guys on this podcast, man, it's about discipline and being organized, which I'll talk about organization on one of my future episodes coming up really soon. But it's about that discipline and being organized. And that's how I'm able to look like, it's just natural. And I don't seem stressed because I'm super organized every single day. I have my tasks. I write out my tasks on a sheet of paper, and I have my task board that I use with TaxApp, which is one of our partners. If you haven't checked out TaxApp, make sure you check out TaxApp. I'll put the link in the description for you. But they have a really good task board. So I write down some of my tasks, and I put some on the TaxApp task board. But the secret to that, writing out tasks, you can write out tasks for a whole month. Anybody can do that. Yeah, I want to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this and make a list for the whole month. Yeah, we do that. I do that as well. I'll write out all my tasks. I'll put them on the task board for the whole month. All these are really just ideas. They're not really tasks. They're more so like, I want to increase my marketing. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'll put all those on a big, long running list that never ends, right? But that's not my daily task list. Those are just ideas and things that I plan to accomplish for my business over time. But I'll do a weekly task list and I'll break those down into daily tasks. So on Monday, I have a few tasks that I want to accomplish. I may have a couple meetings sprinkled in those tasks, but the secret to that is I never overload a day. I put just enough in there to keep me busy for the 4 to 5 hours a day that I want to work, because I don't work full 8-hour days. I rarely give it an 8-hour day. That's just not who I am. I'm not a 9 to 5 type of guy. I pretty much break my days down into about 4 to 5. I'm in my office. I'm giving it everything for those 4 hours. I don't get up, I only get up to stretch, and I have a sit to stand desk. So I'll press the button, the desk will go up and I'll stand and stretch and I'll continue working. So I'm locked in for those hours. I'm very productive during that 4-hour span. But occasionally, some days, a task on my list for Monday is going to not get done Monday. So what I do, I don't stress. I don't press the day and it's like, oh, I'm going to add more time onto my day. I'll just make that task the first task for the next day. So that'll be the first thing I do Tuesday. I'll start there and I'll work through that Monday stuff that I left off and I'll finish my Tuesday. That way I don't get overwhelmed. I don't get burnt out by trying to put too many things on one day, knowing I can't finish them. I give myself that respect to knowing how much I'm capable to doing in that day before I burn out. Because like I said, I'm working really hard during those 4 hours. I'm not playing around. I'm not messing around. I'm not straying from my task and my plan for the day. I'm really focused. That's how I can do that. And then I'll move on to the next day. And I never jump ahead. If I finish all my tasks for Monday, I don't jump into Tuesday or jump into Wednesday. I leave Tuesday at Tuesday, Wednesday at Wednesday. That's how I do. That's what it is. I've done what I needed to do today. I clap for myself for completing my task for the day, and I shut it down and I go ahead and live my life, go play with my kids or go to the park or do whatever I like to do for myself for that day, because I've completed my task for that day and I'm not thinking about tomorrow until I get in the office for tomorrow. And that's how I function. And that's how you should function, because you got to keep your peace and your balance. And that's part of the emotional intelligence that I'm telling you that I talk about on these episodes. All these things contribute to that. Your mental health, your balance, your work, your family, all of that stuff contributes to it. And it gets hard, but you have to focus on these things to be successful. So that's what I tell my friends. This is how I succeed. This is how I'm able to wear a lot of hats in my business, is because I do a lot. In the 4 or 5 hours that I'm working, I'm doing a lot. I'm very disciplined. I'm very organized, and I stick to it. And I stick to my goal. I stick to my task, and I finish whatever it is I set up that I'm going to do in my business. I always see it through those tasks. May take a few days, may take a few weeks, but each day I'm working toward that outcome of the goal of what I'm trying to accomplish. And that's what you need to do as well. But let's continue on. That was my personal reflection. Let's continue on with this lesson. So let me bring this home. As a father and an entrepreneur, I had to face a real question. Am I building the life I say I want, or am I just talking about it? Because it's easy to say you want more from your family. It's easy to say you want financial freedom. You want peace. You want control over your time. But your habits will reveal the truth. Are you managing your time, or are you wasting it? Are you investing in your growth, or are you distracting yourself? Are you disciplined when nobody's watching? Because that's where your future is being written. Not in the big announcements, not in the big plans, but in the quiet moments where nobody sees. I had to check myself on that, because I realized something. I wasn't losing because I didn't know what to do. I was losing because I wasn't consistently doing what I already knew. And that's where most people are. It's not a knowledge problem. It's a habit problem. Let's talk about the habits that quietly destroy your future. Not the obvious ones, but those subtle ones. Scrolling when you should be building, saying I'll do it later, knowing you won't, starting and not finishing, being busy but not productive. Those habits don't feel dangerous in the moment. They feel normal. They feel comfortable. But that's the problem, because comfort will keep you stuck. And we've talked about that before. Over time, those small decisions turn into big consequences, missed opportunities, lost time, regret, not because you didn't care, because your habits didn't match your goals. So let's start rewriting your habits for success. So what do? And how do you do that? You don't try to change your whole life overnight. That's where people mess up. They go from 0 to 100 and then they burn out. You start small, but you stay consistent. Pick one habit, just one, and lock in on it. Not for motivation, but for discipline. Because discipline is what carries you when motivation fades. And here's the key. Stop focusing on the outcomes. Focus on the identity. Instead of saying, I want to be successful, ask yourself, what would a disciplined person do today? Then do it over and over and over again, because that's how habits are built. And that's how your future changes. They say anything that you do for 30 days consistent becomes a habit, and you need those good habits. Let me leave you with this. Your habits are writing your story every single day, not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly and consistently, and without your permission. So if you don't like where your life is headed, don't start with your goals. Start with your habits, because the life you want isn't built in the moment. It's built by the choices you repeat when nobody's watching. And at some point, you're going to meet the person that your habits created. The question is, are you going to be proud of who that is? If this episode hit you hard, don't just listen, apply it. You're on this journey with me. Make sure you like and subscribe to stay connected. I'd love to hear what you think about this episode, so leave me an honest comment. Be sure to tune in next week for episode 7. Fear disguises itself as logic. We're building something real here. Thank you for watching the Mindset Manual with me, your host, Myron Williams. And as always, stay balanced, stay focused, and keep practicing that emotional intelligence.
The Mindset Manual with Myron Williams.